Group.
Leader of the UKIP group, Neil Hamilton.
Go at First Minister's questions. The Leader of Plaid Cymru raised the dispute that's going on in Llangennech over the conversion of their primary schools from bilingual to Welsh medium instruction only, and described the atmosphere in the village as toxic. And the First Minister appealed for calm. Since then, the Leader of Plaid Cymru has interpreted calmness in a rather unusual way. Plaid Cymru have set their internet trolls upon the activists who want to maintain dual-stream education in Llangennech and have twisted innocent Facebook posts in an attempted character assassination of their opponents. Jonathan Edwards, the Member of Parliament for Carmarthen East, supported by the Leader of Plaid Cymru, has engaged in a public campaign of intimidation of one of those activists for having the temerity to seek my help as one of their AMs in the fight against Plaid Cymru intolerance. And indeed, the Leader of Plaid Cymru has even published on her Facebook page a photograph of one of them, following which this lady has been verbally abused in the street and spat at. As Leader of the House, will you defend our collective rights as members in this Assembly, as representatives of the people of Wales, to seek redress of grievances on behalf of all our constituents, regardless of their political views, and condemn the attack on the constitutional right of all my constituents to seek my help on the future education of their children?
Well, I have to say I'm a bit concerned that the Leader of UKIP is not helping to reduce the toxic situation. In fact, he may be that has been described. And I think this is something where, you know, in terms of our responsibilities, indeed your responsibilities, we must be very clear here. And perhaps the Leader of UKIP needs to be reminded of this, that the Welsh Government can't comment on any proposals for change that are under consideration by a local authority. And it is the responsibility for the local authorities for the planning of school places. It rests with them.
Yeah, I fully accept that. But the process by which the decision was arrived at in Carmarthenshire County Council has wider implications and calls for change in legislation. There was a consultation exercise which was carried out, which was a complete sham. There was 1,418 responses, 698 responses were in support of the proposal, 720 were against it, but one of the responses against had 757 signatures, and that was regarded as one vote out of the 1,418. You don't have to provide an address or a postcode if you respond to any to the consultation. 27 of these were anyway anonymous. There wasn't even a name. In these circumstances, given that there is clearly a very substantial opposition within the catchment area of the school to the imposition of Welsh medium only instruction, surely there is a case here for a stay in the proceedings whilst we consider whether this change, which in the longer term may well be desirable, should be brought in so as to take public opinion with us rather than to fight it.
Well, I mean, you know, these are, as I've said, matters for Carmarthenshire Council. As a government, we're supportive of the Welsh language. We want to see an extension of Welsh medium education, more children involved in it. It is for Carmarthenshire Council to justify the decisions that it takes, clearly sensitive to the fact that local authorities must comply with the School Standards and Organisation Wales Act 2013 and the Code, and look at the range of factors when proposing change.
It is certainly true that they must comply with the legislation, but they can comply with the letter of the law whilst wholly ignoring its spirit, and that is exactly what has happened in this case. There hasn't been a consultation, there's been a non-consultation, because the decision was arrived at even before the consultation exercise was begun. Is it not time now for Carmarthenshire County Council to have a proper consultation exercise, which is independently conducted of all those within the catchment area of Llangennech alone, and ignoring the responses which have nothing to do with the area which is most concerned?
It's again, I have to say, Llywydd, it's not a matter for Welsh Government to intervene. Of course, it's important that any local authority does take into account the views of those who live locally, and indeed the consultation was held between 28th of January 2016 and 18th of March. to which there were 267 responses. It is now for us to let the process progress in terms of the legislation, the School Standards Act 2013 and the School Organisation Code.